Welcome to All the Way Alive. This is a space for the real, the raw, the unfiltered experience of being human. I'm Carolyn, and I'm most definitely not here as a teacher or an expert. I am a fellow traveler fumbling my way through the mess and the magic of life with you. This isn't the bullshit of self-help. It's not about becoming better or fixing anything. This is about truth. It's about risk. It's about letting yourself be seen all the way through. It's about the initiations we go through in love, the ache of purpose, the wild vision, the grief, the ecstasy, the fear, all of it. Here we explore what it means to be all the way alive, to feel, to fall, to fuck it up, to try again, to listen to your body, to mine your own wisdom. There's no finish line, just this moment, just this breath, just this one wild, precious life. Let's go there. Welcome to this episode of All the Way Alive. Today, I am digging into something that I've kind of been fleshing out and is really foundational to both the work that I do, but more so, how I really see life and business. And, the vehicle that I'm working in and through right now is business. So I'll definitely use that lens. But it applies to so many different areas of our life. And this concept is the vision matrix. And so we'll dig into that. We'll look at what that means, and then we'll also kind of tease it apart a bit, almost like reverse engineering the understanding of what we see on the outside versus what's happening inside or underneath. Kind of like a house or a home being built, and better understanding the foundation, but in a way more fun way. A matrix is way more enjoyable to me than understanding like the cement foundation of a house. So just personal preference there. So I'm introducing this concept that I've termed the vision matrix. And the reason why we're going into this space is that oftentimes what we're feeling as business owners, as individuals, is that we build from pressure. We build from spaces of proving, of hustling, of thinking that this is going to be the solution, or even of that, that deeper desire, which is like longing, right? It's about what exists separate from you. And in that separation, it creates, there's a disconnect, right? It creates duality. It creates an experience of separateness and kind of like this hamster wheel of like, are we ever going to get there? Because there is a there to get to, right? So it's a linear model of how we look at life and business. Do, get, prove. So we do the work, we do the thing, we do the actions, and then we get the thing. And then when we get the thing, then, that proves that we're right, or it upholds basically our ego, right? Like that part of us that just wants to be seen as valuable and unique and separate and all of that stuff. And this is a bit of a tender thing to actually look at because, that part of us, there's nothing wrong or bad with it. It's a part of us that is just longing for care. It's longing for attention and validation, and the part of us that wants to feel valued, right? It comes online when we're a child, and we seek outside approval, or we seek approval. I actually personally believe it goes even deeper than that. So at the very beginning of our life, there is this original fear and this original desire. And this is a concept that comes from Buddhism. So Thich Nhat Hanh talks about this. And what he says is that so this original fear that happens. So we're born into this life, we're born into this body, and in so doing, we experience a separation from source. And so the fear is, will we ever get back there? And the desire is, I want to get back there. So it's this longing for remembering, it's this longing for experience of that unification. And in that same way, there's something really beautiful here in this experience of humanness, of this reality, this life, in that it is a dualistic space. So it's a relational space. And so we understand unity because we understand separation. So it gives us a unique and a different perspective and experience. And so I actually believe it comes all the way back to that space where, you know, we come into this life so that we can have an experience of separateness, so that we can better understand and experience unity, freedom, love, you know, everything that comes from that space. So slight diversion, but I think it's important because it's underneath everything. It's underneath all of the reasons why we long to prove ourselves, why our ego is always seeking to be validated, because it's like a semblance of a purpose, of meaning, of belonging, essentially. And what I want to dig into is what actually exists beneath that. So what if the I that is seeking is actually the part that we're observing, right? Like that's our humanness speaking. And then we tune into the part that's underneath that, the part that really understands and has a direct connection to the deeper experience of self as wholeness, as expansive, as freedom, as love, as joy, as possibility. You know, all of those experiences that really indicate and express unity. So to me, that's the real game that we're playing here in business and in life. And it's not strategy. it's not about, you know, how do I make more money? It's not about how do I make this system work? But it's the part that needs to be tended to in order to then build that. And I want to explain a bit more why, because, you know, we'll go into business or we'll go into a challenge in life and see that there's something deeper, right? And oftentimes what happens is we stop at the mind. So we go, okay, this must be a mindset problem. I got to work on manifestation. I got to work on the way I talk to myself. I got to work on the way I think, you know, my subconscious programming. Sure, that is all important, but it's still just one layer beneath the manifest or beneath the like physical outward layer. And there's so much more. Like almost think of it like nesting dolls, right? So the koshas, which are a part of yogic philosophy and an Ayurvedic philosophy. So we can look at them as nesting dolls, and so it's these aspects of self. And so the outermost, or in the language of the koshas, we call it like grossest. And so gross just being manifest, gross being like you can touch it, you can feel it. It's like a physical experience. So that's the Annamaya kosha, or the layer of the body, the manifest, the expression, right? That's the systems, that's the products, that's it's whatever comes into form. And then next to that, or more subtle to that, is the mental body. So that's the mind. And then next to that, or more subtle to that, is then the energy body. And then below that is the creative body. And then below that is or more subtle than that, is the unification. And so we tend to spend so much of our time in this outer part of the rings of these nesting aspects of self, of this matrix, that we think that that's all there is. And so that's the game we end up playing, is the game of like, okay, how do I create more? How do I build more? How do I get more? How do I do more? It's all in the physical layer. And then we may start to dabble in that mental layer, in the layer of the mind. But then more subtle to that, remember, is the layer of energy, of spirit, of inspiration, of breath. So it's called the pranamaya kosha. And the pranamaya kosha is all about energy movement. And so it's beyond even the mind. It's the part that actually animates us. And then even more subtle to that is that creative layer, Vijnanamaya Kosha. And in that space, that's where creation is, like, that's actually the seed of it. And that is where vision exists. So it's in between the space of the deeper layer, the most subtle aspect of self, which is actually unification. It is that remembering. And then before energy starts to help to bring things into mind and then into being. And so in that space, that's where we want to tune into. That's where the vision becomes manifest. That's where the matrix really starts to form and create this almost like spider web of creation. And so we can look at this as a bit of a finite game and an infinite game. And the finite game is when we tune into vision, when we get really clear on that, and we learn how to listen to vision. We learn how to listen to those more subtle impulses and desires and co-creations, ideations of divine. Then we can bring that into form, right? That's the finite game of it. So we can bring those subtle aspects into life in a more conscious way. Not conscious in terms of mind, but like intentional way is the word I'm looking for. Or we can play, we can play the infinite game. And the infinite game says that the outer creations aren't the point. You know, the outer creations are beautiful and they're indicative of what's happening on a more subtle level. But it's not the reason why we do. It's not the reason why we tune into vision. It's not the reason why, right? The reason why is simply because the more subtle aspects are who we are, right? It is like a complete surrendering ourselves to the innermost aspect of who we are in our essence, in truth. It's a resting back in this space of true connection and true possibility. And I realize that this is a bit esoteric, particularly as it often relates to business, but that's the game I want to play. Right? I'm in this human body. I'm in this experience and exploration of what's possible. And I don't want to just play the game of how much money can I make and how many systems can I build. Like, sure, I'm gonna play in those spaces too, but I really want to share this deeper aspect of what's going on, because without that, everything else kind of feels a bit hollow, and it also often kind of veers off and away, right? We get stuck or stagnant in one aspect of creation, one aspect of outer expression. So like the business has been defined as this, or I have been defined as this, so therefore I must uphold it. I must continue to go forward with it. Whereas really what's happening underneath that is the magic. that's the space that I want to relate from. That's the space that I want to tune back into and connect more deeply to. Because if I stop at the layer of creation, of outer expression, or even the layer of mind, where we do have relating, where we do have that dualism in some way, we're still relating, say, with another person or the expressions from the space of it's outside of me, right? It's an understanding that, okay, this has come into form, so therefore now it's separate from me. And it's interesting as I look around this room, so I'm seeing this beautiful triangular shelf that I made for my partner, and I built it, right? I built it with my hands. I thought it would be a really sweet gift. And so I'm looking at it as a creation, but then as a deeper expression of creation, right? So there's like the physical creation, but really what was at the essence of that was that I wanted to just be in the experience of creation, really. Like that's what was at the heart of it. And I wanted to be in the experience of expressing love. And so now when I look at it, I'm not separate from it. I can see through different eyes, whether it's like my physical eyes, or I can see through the eyes of the heart, or the eyes of the deeper expression and experience of soul. And I start to see in like a place where it starts to dissolve a bit. Yeah. I feel like as I'm sharing this, like it's so curious and such a fun exploration for me. And I do recognize it can feel a bit separate from, say, how business is normally done or how life is normally done. Maybe we touch into these spaces as they relate to spirituality or religion even. Maybe we think that there's places and spaces for this. And I would assert that if we can bring this into all aspects of our life, it will have a profound effect, not only in our experience, but a ripple out into the world. So as I mentioned, that spider web, right? It connects us with others. It builds bridges. It offers opportunity for other people to come in and explore. And so this matrix that I'm building business off of now, there's obviously strategy involved. There's obviously mind involved, but they're more the outer aspects that you'll see. And so I'm intentionally choosing language and what I'm holding at the center of it, at the core of it, or maybe even just as the underlying, the foundation of it, is this matrix, is this understanding that to really hold it in a good way is to continually evaluate it, and not just through the layer of the mind or the physical, but to go deeper, to continue to go back to vision over and over and over again, to tune in and to tap into that ever expressing, ever emerging vision, that vision that's wanting to move in, through, and as us, right? Like that's what that means. So vision isn't a goal. It's not a place that we're going to get to. It's not our Q1 financial earnings or growth, right? It's about what's at the heart of it, what is seeking to express through us. And then from that space, sure, we can start to apply these other aspects of it in that matrix. But we need to start more subtly, because if we don't, what ends up happening is the nesting doll is hollow. Those deeper parts of us feel unseen and unmet. And that original desire, that original longing goes unsatiated, right? That need for true connection, that need for unification and remembering. And so there will always be a sense of disconnect in that. There will be a lack of heart in the business, and there will be a lack of satisfaction in the person who's holding the vision, because it's just not quite it, right? So yeah, this vision matrix is fascinating to me, and it's the part of my deeper exploration in business that I'm really I don't know if I'll be able to bring it into words in the way that makes complete sense to everyone. But just know it's at the heart of what I am building and creating, and whether that serves the collective is like that's the intent. That is the intention, is that it serves the collective in some way, shape, or form. And this vehicle that I'm choosing of business, like the physical vehicle, the outermost aspect of this vision creation that I'm choosing in this way of business is simply one way that we can relate. And then my invitation is then we go deeper. Then we start to go, okay, like what is this really all about? And why am I here? And like, what is this for? And what does it mean to relate to each other from this space of deeper understanding and connection of ourselves as whole, as free, as love, as joy? And that to me feels like the real game. That to me feels like the real reason why we're here, and the real purpose, the real intent behind why we do any of the stuff that we do. So it's a bit of a shift, right? It's a bit of a shift from looking at it through a more traditional lens that is quite linear or goal driven or mind led and forced and with effort. There's efforting involved, to this vision matrix that's more relational, and it's more of a felt sense, and it requires tending to, and it's emergent, it's truth led. So most businesses are built like a straight line, but the vision matrix is built like a living web. And so just feel that. So most businesses are built like a straight line, but the vision matrix is built like a living web. Which one feels more alive to you? Which one feels more connected to your deepest desires of expression? And so what I'd like to bring in here is, if you know my story or you know some of my experiences, you've probably heard me share about it. But I have built businesses before that worked, right? That looked successful from the outside. And were successful by those outer metrics in terms of finances or physical creation, right? And I realized that it didn't feel good to live inside of that, right? Something was missing, something was not aligned. And that's what happens when structure is built without truth at the heart of it. So I know to my core that you can succeed and still be misaligned. So this whole matrix thing came about because of these understandings, because of these experiences. And so what happens without the matrix is that we tend to override the body. We tend to override the subtle signals, which start at the outermost expression of self, the physical body. We tend to force strategy. We tend to ignore timing. We tend to build from pressure. And the result is burnout. The result is confusion. The result is ignoring that timeliness. And so we're constantly fixing. And we get into this loop of, why does this feel so hard? And so when we look at it and we experience our business, our life in the space of this matrix, clarity happens without force. Decisions feel so much cleaner and more direct. Business actually supports your life, right? Not really the other way around, where your life is always feeding the business. The business is there to support your life. And growth is sustainable. So the focus is not how fast and how large can I grow, but it's sustainable. And sustainable doesn't just mean within me. It's like the community. It's relational in that way. And so you stop trying to make things happen and start responding to what's true. And so it's a slower process, but I can tell you that the nervous system longs for slowness. And the faster that we go, the more we have to clean up afterwards. And it's just, we're going to pay for it one way or the other. So if we go fast, we're going to have to pay for it later. So the slowness that allows us to tune more deeply into vision and to play in the space of the matrix really allows us to build in a more intentional way. And so, coming back to this role of business and understanding why this fits, the vision matrix within this understanding of business. So business is not the center, right? So business is the outer expression of it. It's the outermost part of what you see. So it exists to support your life. It exists to support your vision. It exists to help you be that ripple, to create wealth, the true understanding of wealth, which is the expansion of abundance. And so we'll dig into that another time. And it's designed to hold your work, right? So your business, sure, you can build something that functions without you, no problem. And that aspect of your business that functions without you still holds the vision. It will still need that spark of creation from you. So business becomes powerful when it's built inside the matrix, not outside of it. And so don't think of this as like the red pill, blue pill kind of matrix. Think of this as the spider web, the true holding of the fullness of possibility. So my invitation is to slow down and let this really land in your system. So most people believe that they need better strategy. But what they actually need, what they actually desire and long for, is a structure that can hold what's true for them, what is at the heart of who they are here to be in this moment, in this ever emerging moment. So the vision. So create from truth, design structure to support it, and let your business be the expression. Thank you so much for being here in this exploration with me today. I love just the opportunity to be able to share this. So if it resonated, send a message, drop a comment, or share it. And wherever you are listening to this, give it a rating and a review. That just really helps it to reach more listening ears. And I look forward to playing in the Matrix with you.